everybody. My name is Courtney. This video is just to introduce myself, let you know where I come from, where I'm going, and why I'm doing these videos. So, like I said, my name is Courtney. I'm from Arizona. Arizona girl all the way. It starts already. I am new to these videos, so I apologize if I say a lot. I am really trying to watch it, trying to stop doing it, but it does come out. So, history starts this way. When I was a young child, I had a lot of abdominal issues. And I was on a dance team, and eventually it caused problems, and I couldn't do the things with the dance team that I had been able to do in the past. So I went to doctors. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They said that it was acid reflux, or GERD, if you prefer that. Then they put me on a low grease diet, basically. So they told me not to eat out all the time and not to eat burgers because they were greasy, and just cut down on greasy foods. Well, I still had issues, and when I got diagnosed with the acid reflux, or GERD, that was 2005, I believe. Then fast forward to 2008. Summer of 2008, right before 9th grade, right before high school, yay! I got diagnosed with celiac disease. After that, junior year-ish, I had other abdominal pain, and I was diagnosed, I guess, with multiple cysts on my ovaries, and they suggested that I go on birth control. I went on Depo, and that's the one that I chose. Depo took away my cycle completely. Then, when I was 17, I graduated high school, moved out of my mom's house, moved in with my aunt to be a nanny for her, and that was in North Carolina. There, while still 17, I met my husband, and we dated, and he was in the Army. Now, let me tell you why this is a big deal. While I was in high school, I swore up and down that I was never going to date, much less marry, anybody that was a cop or someone in the military or someone that wanted to be either of those things. Why, you ask? Because the risk to their life. I didn't want to have to deal with the stress and anxiety and have that risk to their life, and they'd be gone a lot, and that's just not something I wanted for my partner in life. And here I am, dating who would be my husband, and he was in the Army. And not only that, infantry, guys, infantry. They're the ones that are first in line to get shot at. Okay, so he was infantry, and he was airborne, and that was a big deal. That was not something I ever wanted. So we dated, and he got some orders. He was actually doing Special Forces selection while he was in North Carolina. And he was a 21-day non-select, which means that he went through all the selection, the quote-unquote, I think it's 3 weeks in hell is what they call it. Pretty rough stuff. So he went through the whole thing, and they just didn't select him. They said that his leadership skills weren't strong enough and didn't select him, and stuck him in just regular infantry rather than Special Forces. So he got some orders after some time to go to Alaska. Personally, I do not believe in cohabitation. I don't believe in intimacy before marriage, anything like that. So I told him, I said, if you go to Alaska, I am not coming with you unless we are married. And on his way to Alaska, he drove. And so we drove together to his family in Wisconsin. Beautiful place, by the way. And while we were there, he proposed to me. Big surprise. And we spent our engagement apart, so you can imagine this. Here's the East Coast. Here I am, North Carolina. Here's not only the West Coast, but way north, West Coast, Alaska. And that's where my fiance was. And we did that for our entire engagement. It was all Skype. And then during this time that we were dating, I let my husband know that after I'd stopped Depo while I was in high school, I think I was 16 when I decided to stop the Depo. So I'm not sure when I started it. But I was doing Depo for about a year. And then I stopped it, and I had already been stopping it for about a year, and I still hadn't gotten my cycle back. And so while we were still dating, I told my husband, my boyfriend. I told my boyfriend, I said, look, I haven't got my cycle back. I know both of us want children really badly, and we want them soon. So you need to know that it's a possibility that I might never be able to have children. Here's the situation. And he was like, okay, I'll take that. Well, then while we were engaged, I call him and I'm like, I got my period! What man wants to hear about that, right? But he was excited because that meant that everything was getting fixed. We were going to be able to have children. Everything was great. And when we got married, we were still on that thought process of we want to have children. We want to have them right away. So we obviously were having sex unprotected. After somewhere between a week or two, we decided that, hey, we're not even living on our own yet. We were living with another couple at the time. We should probably wait to have children until we have a place of our own and are a little more prepared. And so we started using protection. Not long after that, I think it was a few days, I took a pregnancy test. Lo and behold, we were pregnant. And we're like, well, so much for that decision that we made not to have children right now. But we were so overly overjoyed, excited, and started telling everybody and told the people we were living with who didn't agree with it and were upset, found it irresponsible, but we were still excited. And then around 6 or 7 weeks, I started bleeding, went into the emergency room. I had miscarried. This is something that I was not expecting. None of my family have any issues with fertility whatsoever. And I'd never heard of anybody miscarrying. I think I might have known that my mom miscarried one time. But it was one time, which usually means nothing and usually doesn't mean that it's going to be repeated by your children. So after that, we had 3 more miscarriages, one of which was conjoined twins. So initially on that pregnancy, they thought that, this is all in Alaska, by the way, so I'm like super far from my family when we have 4 miscarriages. The one with conjoined twins, they thought that we had mono twins. If you don't know what that is, that means one sac. With identical twins, they're in the same womb, but they have individual sacs. Mono, they're in the same sac. Later, I came to find out that they were not, in fact, mono, they were conjoined. And I lost them at 13 weeks and had to have a D&C. That was my first surgery ever, a D&C. So that was devastating. We didn't try again to get pregnant for a while. Had a really hard time with that. After that, we moved from Alaska to Colorado. Colorado is so beautiful, let me just tell you. And while we were living in Colorado, we tried to get pregnant for a while. It didn't work. We decided to stop trying to get pregnant, and we got pregnant. And I will put the birth story, well, the pregnancy and birth story in another video. That is my son that you can hear playing around. Oh, he's going to knock my light over. So that is my son, and he is 14 months. Well, 14 months in 6 days. We are still breastfeeding, so that makes trying for another baby a little more difficult. We are now, so right before he was born, we moved from Colorado to Idaho. We lived in Pocatello, Idaho for a space of about a year. After that, we moved to Washington. Washington State is where we're at now. And when we moved to Idaho, my husband got out of the active duty Army. Okay, in Idaho, my husband had stopped active duty. He thought he was so done with the Army, and then we had this problem called not having enough money. We were used to several years with the Army giving us a ton of money, and I had a really, really good paying job, and then in Idaho, I had a not so good paying job and just had a baby, and my husband only got a part-time retail job, so he wasn't getting paid very well. So he decided to go into the reserve, which we knew minimally about, but not a whole lot. and he decided to go in as a nurse, which would mean that he would have to get the training for a different job in the military. So during the spring of this year, he left. He went to Texas for 3 months. That was a little difficult because it was just my son and I was very concerned about what it would do to their relationship. And when he came back, we went straight to Washington State. Haha, we're in Washington State right now. I am so excited because it's snowing right now. We were told it never snows in Washington, and here we are with snow in November, beginning of November. So I'm very excited that there's snow. I apologize for the whines from my son, but he's in the crib and he does not want to go to bed. But it's nappy time. So Washington State. And he's still doing nursing training right now. He's in class. So being a military wife and a mom, and my husband being a father in the military, he sometimes doesn't even get to see his son. Usually he's gone anywhere from 12 to 14 hours a day. And we try to make the most out of it when he's home. But he doesn't always get to come home. So about 2 months ago, we decided we would be totally okay with having another baby. And we didn't want to say we were trying because we didn't want the heartbreak of not getting pregnant every month. And if we had a miscarriage, we just didn't want that frame of mind. So we are now trying while I'm breastfeeding my son. And these videos are just about, you know, being a military wife, being in a place that I wouldn't have moved here by myself, even though it's very beautiful, and having a son, and being a mother. I love being a mother. It's my favorite thing in the world. And just trying to get pregnant and nursing and trying to be healthy. And that's what these videos are about. They're about the adventures of my life and what we're doing as a family. So I hope that this will help some people. Anybody who is struggling maybe with fertility, miscarriages, being a military wife, being a military mom. I'm sure there are many other things. I have celiac, so anybody with celiac that may be struggling, anything like that. And also, I'm planning a VBAC. I had a cesarean with my son, and so I'm going to be making a lot of VBAC videos as well. More so when I get pregnant, which I'm not yet, and that will become a main point of discussion. So, birth story, pregnancy and birth story for my son coming up later. Thank you guys. I hope that you enjoy my videos.